Yeah.
Welcome back to the Sonic Locker Room. This is Bill Althouse of Sideliner Sports, and we're celebrating our 18th year, bringing you the best and the brightest from Eastern Jackson County and the metro area. And we're going to have some fun today from Raytown High School. We're going to be visiting with Kaitlyn Sampson, the cheer coach. This is her 6th year at Raytown High School and her 2nd year as a head coach. And Kaitlyn, Thomas Wolfe, a very famous author, once wrote, "You can't go home." Well, you're certainly proving him wrong as you graduated from Raytown High School and have come back to your alma mater. How special is that?
I think it's really special. When I started coaching, it was my coach's last year. So she kind of, was like, let's get you on staff so that way I can leave my program to someone I trust. And I hope that I've done well by bringing back, her legacy and keeping Raytown prevalent in the cheer world, but also preparing student athletes for life after high school.
Now, I love it when a coach talks about, certainly lavish praise upon your cheerleaders, the success they've had, which we'll talk about in a minute. Yeah. But talking about life after high school, how important is it for you to help them realize that, you can cheer for 4 years, maybe cheer 4 more in college, but, it's something that eventually will come to an end and that they do have to be serious in the classroom?
Yeah, absolutely. I always talk to kids, like, regardless of what you do after high school, whether it is you go to college or if you go to a trade or, whatever it is that you decide, I think there's a lot of life lessons that can be held within sports and with cheerleading in particular. And so I definitely try to make sure that anytime at practices or games, we take opportunities for life lessons. Also, I'm a licensed therapist on the side too. That's my main job. Cheerleading is obviously on the side, even though sometimes it doesn't feel like it. But so definitely work mental health within, our conversations and checking in with kids and the such as well.
It's interesting you'd mention that because so many coaches I talk to, especially coaches that, golf, swimming, certain events in track and field, where everything's on those kids' shoulders. I say, how much of your role with the team as a coach, how much as a therapist? And they'll say 90% therapist, 10% coach.
Yes.
How cool is it for you to know the tools of the trade and really make an impact on a young lady's life?
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with that stat. It's a lot more therapy than coaching sometimes, but I think within that, it's really good because, yes, I do have the tools, but then also I can work those in with like some of those life lessons or learning moments, but then also, kind of have the skills to realize or like see if things are going on as far as just like attitudes or, anything that they have going on at home because as coaches, we always have that expectation that you leave whatever is going on outside of your sport out of it, right? So you can just come here and do what we have to do, but that's not the reality for anyone, even adults sometimes. So expecting teenagers to do that, that's not a realistic expectation. So like knowing those expectations and knowing, what would happen mentally and emotionally and all those things definitely help with planning our practice too and at games and events and such.
We visited here in the Sonic Locker Room with many cheer coaches this week, and I love talking to basketball coaches about quote unquote the longest season in high school. Let me introduce you to a cheerleader coach, and let's talk about that. When do you start and when do you wrap up?
So we start tryouts in spring. So this coming up year will be in April, and we end in February or March whenever the basketball teams are done with districts. So we just now ended this Saturday, and we have tryouts in about 4 weeks. So we literally, the kids have a couple breaks here and there because obviously with like winter breaks and spring breaks and stuff. But for reality for the coaches, we go all year round.
How have you seen cheerleading change since you graduated from Raytown to where it is today? Because people ask me all the time, what are the changes? What are the things that you've really seen? I was a sports writer at the Examiner 43 years. And, usually the first thing I mention is half times at football games with the cheer, the dancers, and the marching band, and just the expertise from these cheer squads. I was at an area high school 4 or 5 years ago. I'm talking to the coach. They're coming off a winless season, and he goes, Bill, if you really want to talk to the athletes, go right over there. And he is pointing to the cheer squad at that school. What changes have you seen?
Cheerleading has definitely got more competitive. I think that is kind of a testament to some of like the social media and stuff by like being able to see higher level teams and also colleges and pros. And then also with just the legality of it all, like they're starting to make things more legal in all states and some states to make the difficulty level harder. And I think just like as any sport, I mean, you always like raise the bar. So with, student athletes, I think we're seeing a development in student athletes just changing in a whole. I think also just timing as well. I mean, there's things that luckily I went to college for cheer as well, so I stayed in it. But if I would have, graduated X amount of years ago and then came back, it's totally different now as far as some of the rules and things that are allowed. So I don't even know if I would know how to do them. And I think cheer is one of those sports with like coaches that you really have to pay attention, and you're always learning too, because you're the coach and have to help explain things to kids, or at least find the connections to help them, because cheering on the sidelines, when, we're doing the chants and the cheers and stuff like that, that can be, just taught with videos or doing them demonstrating, but like the stunting and the tumbling, that is a lot more complex now. And it's great from the athletic standpoint, but as a coach, you're responsible for the safety of the athletes. So definitely have to make sure you're relevant on the rules and also techniques as well. So that way you can make sure you're coaching correctly, but then also watching the safety of these kids, because it can be dangerous sometimes what they do.
Well, you got to have some guts to be a flyer. It just amazes me what they do. And, but better make sure your friends are on the floor so they catch you. I remember back in 1978, I went down to Kemper Arena and I was watching the Memphis State basketball team play in a postseason tournament. And, halftime rolled around and I thought, well, I'm going to go get a drink or something. And their cheerleaders came out, and I have never seen a group captivate 18,000 people like they did. And that was the first team that I'd ever seen that didn't just come out with the pom-poms, cheer, and did something at halftime. I mean, they were like the Harlem Globetrotters of cheerleading. Like I say, they did things I'd never... Now I see that off the charts done by high school kids.
Yeah.
How dedicated to these... now, do you have a co-ed squad or all girl?
So we have co-ed.
Okay. How, how into it, how dedicated must these young ladies and men be to participate in something that just continues to grow and evolve and get bigger and bigger?
Yeah, I mean, the dedication, you have to be, really committed to it. We practice we have twice a week, and then we have weights, because I think that weightlifting is definitely important for just all kinds of reasons, health-wise, but then also with our sport, because we do lift people and tumble and jump. There are key muscles that are very important to help with those things. So we have that. And then, we just come off of a basketball season where we have games a couple nights a week as well. So, it is a lot. I literally was just talking to an athlete, checking in with them about how their season was. And they just were like, I didn't realize how much of a mental game cheer was as well. So, we have the mental and the physical side. And the fact that we do go all year round, I definitely make sure I check in with kids, like, if they're needing a mental break or a physical break as well, to take a night off for a game or a practice or something, just because it is a very long season. It's like I said, almost all year round, except for, a couple breaks for them. So, it's definitely a commitment thing. I also was like, financially, it can be a lot sometimes because we have a lot of stuff that goes into our sport as far as like the uniforms and the camp clothes and the bows and the poms. And it can, rack up a lot too. So there's a lot of commitment as far as time, financial, but then also just attitude. We are on the sidelines, like you said, to hype the cheer team up. And, the crowd, the athletes themselves. And I kind of always remind them that, like, obviously when we're doing our stunts and, we're performing, that's for us. But we're also, when we are on the sidelines cheering and not at our competitions, we're there for the other athletes as well. And, showing school spirit and representing Raytown. And so definitely it's a long game, especially on those, football nights that are 20 degrees or the basketball games that go into double overtime. It can be a very long night sometimes. And so just like that time commitment in the moment as well can be a lot.
Kaitlyn Sampson, I love your enthusiasm. I look forward to many more conversations here in the locker room. Congratulations on all the success, and thanks for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Great show,